Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. Tonight is October 27th, Thursday. So, of course, we have a great show planned for you tonight. I am your host, Rhonda. So we're actually doing a follow-up from last week, part 2. We got into the universe master code, how sounds, shapes, and numbers create our reality. So I did want to pick back up on that. Sis Lioness came in, dropped some jewels, along with a few of the other family, and so I wanted to expound on that a little more with a couple of other master teachers that have spoke on this topic. Last week, we got into Professor James Gate, who talks about mathematics and supersymmetry. He got a little bit into the Higgs boson, which is really the God particle. We also talked about the ancient musical scale and how it was changed, and how there are certain tones and which are associated with vibrations, which bring out certain feelings and help you on your vibrational path. So if you weren't able to catch last week's show, it is out on YouTube. So go ahead. I encourage you to pick that up because several jewels were dropped. So, again, we're going to pick up on part 2 on that this week because we didn't get through everything. And then I also wanted to expound on something else. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. And so we're going to keep with the theme on how we were doing before with, I'm going to get a little bit in some of the news and then open up the phone lines for you all to join and put a little something on it. So with that said, let's jump right into the news. So let's see here, family. Okay. Now, this week there has been I've seen a lot of stuff going on in the military aspect, particularly Russia has been firing off their particular naval fleets, and the UK launched some naval fleets as well, and then China is also holding some military drills, some unexpected, they said, military drills off of the South China Sea. So I ran across this article, and I apologize to whoever put this out here. I thought I documented your name. I apologize. I didn't document your name. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. So this article came out in something called Metro out of the UK, and this came out yesterday, and it's called Huge Russian Fleet Seen Headed Through English Channel by Royal Navy. So Russia has begun its biggest surface deployment since the Cold War ahead of its final assault on Aleppo, NATO has warned. The fleet, which includes the aircraft carrier, is now traveling through the English Channel towards the UK before it heads into the Mediterranean Sea towards Syria. The Royal Navy and the RAF are starting to keep a close watch with surveillance planes and ships. A senior NATO diplomat who spoke on condition of anonymity, they always speak privately, said that Russian warships are carrying fighter bombers to bolster their attack on besieged Syrian city, and that it is not a friendly. Okay, how did this article stop? Okay, so it's not friendly. I don't know why that stopped, y'all. So it's saying they are deploying all of the Northern Fleet and much of the Baltic Fleet in the largest surface deployment since the end of the Cold War, the diplomat said. This is not a friendly port call. In 2 weeks, we will see a crescendo of air attacks on Aleppo as part of Russia's strategy to declare victory there. With this assault, it should be enough to allow Russian exit strategy if Moscow believes that President Bashar Assad is now stable. Okay, so according to them, you know, they had to put their little spin on it. This is out of the UK family. The UK is now working alongside NATO partners in order to monitor the Russian warships as they pass through, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I just want to remind the family that a couple of weeks ago, actually, we talked about something pretty serious because it was floating around the internet that Russia did this massive drill with their own civilians. I want to say it was a drill involving 40 million civilians, and the drill involved them taking their folks underground to underground bunkers. Okay, so now we're seeing Russia gear up their warships more. All through the news this week, I've been seeing back and forth a lot of bombing going on in Syria. Just today, there was a school that was bombed in Syria, and I want to say 20 school children died, maybe 20 or 22. And Russia immediately came out and wanted the world to know that they had nothing to do with that bombing. Because remember, Russia has publicly, particularly Putin, has publicly come out and stated that the West, meaning the UK and the United States Corporation and a couple of the other European nations, are not actually trying to help out at Syria at all. He's accused them of actually funding some of the rebels, which started up all the drama in Syria because they're trying to overthrow Syria. Okay, so now let's talk about that just real quick, why Syria is important. Well, there's two folds. We've always talked about the spiritual level, but I'm going to get on the physical side. So from a physical perspective, Syria is important, just like Gaddafi was important. Gaddafi was the leader over in Libya that they overthrew. Syria, it has backed away from the Western financial system, and they have partnered with Russia and China. So basically, they've dumped the dollar. And particularly, Syria also has natural resources. I'm assuming that it's oil, but don't quote me on that. I want to say that it's oil. So the United States Corporation has always wanted to control that Middle Eastern part of the world, number one, for resources perspective, because it's oil rich. Well, they call it Middle Eastern. I say Africa, whatever. But it's resource rich. So not only are we talking oil, if you go into Africa, you're also talking platinum. You're also talking diamonds. So that's what's going on from a physical perspective. It's and the location of the quote Middle East. If they could have military bases there, they're also able to give Russia a run for their money as well. Okay, so that's from a physical perspective why Syria is important. Now let's get on the spiritual aspect. We talk quite heavily on the Truth Uncompromised show, me and the Dream Team, when we were doing the creation story myths, and we went to those ancient texts, and they were talking about how Syria back in the day, when the fallen angels was cutting up and clowning, that was the area where, number one, that they landed and settled, so meaning the Anunnaki settled, and particularly, I want to say, Lebanon. Lebanon, according to the book of Enoch, was where after the fallen angels had did they little dirt, which was mated with, quote, quote, earthlings, and had children, which created Nephilim, they got their sentence. And so when Enoch went to read them their sentence from the Most Highest Creator of all, they were hiding out in a cave over in Lebanon. So that particular, and when Brother Wendow was doing the Lost Book of Enki series, he also extensively went into the importance of that area, how the Anunnaki set up their first space station or portal over there. And so there's always been a bunch of activity in that area. Even the Anunnaki themselves fought over territory, and they also went to South Africa to mine for gold. Okay, so in the spiritual, metaphysical realm, the rumor is that that particular area, they have been fighting for quite some time for the control of the portals. Okay, now a lot of the ancient books, prophecy says that the portals were closed up. And so the fallen angels are trapped here until the last stands, the last battle happens. And then the portals that are open, because I guess like the four corners of the planet, there are portals, but they're guarded by the high archangels. So that particular area is supposedly and allegedly, there have been a lot of Stargate devices left behind. And Bush and them, that's why they went over into Iraq, supposedly and allegedly, to look for these Stargates. Some say they got it. Some say they did not. So that is what's going on in that region from a spiritual and physical perspective. And Syria, according to Bible code prophecies, would be the last stance and the kickoff or ground zero for World War III. Okay, so that is why I always try to keep you all updated on Syria, because I find it highly interesting how all of the quote-quote world powers are involved in this Syrian complex. All righty, so there you go. That's the skinny on Syria. Okay, so we're going to go into just one more article on the military news side, where China has also shined up their vessels, and this actually came off the press today via RT News, and it states that Beijing holds surprise South China Sea drills in response to U.S. patrols. China's Navy is gearing up for drills near the disputed island in the South China Sea, was posted on China's Maritime Safety Administration website. Without disclosing the details of the drill, the Maritime Authority provided the coordinates for the maneuvers, which are planned for Thursday. It has also ordered civilian vessels to stay away from the waters just south of the Hainan Island and northwest of the disputed island chain in the South China Sea. The announcement of the drills, which are quite routine in the disputed waters, come less than a week after USS Decatur conducted a freedom navigation sailed by near the disputed Spartali on Parasail Islands, through which some $5 billion worth of trade passes every year. The USS Decatur conducted this transit in a routine, lawful manner, which ship escorts and without incident on October 21st. This is what Pentagon spokesperson Gary Ross told the Navy Times. The United States conducts these routine operations on a regular basis around the world in full compliance with international law. Okay, I'm going to say bullshit, because the U.S. Corp has been sniffing around this South China Sea and was involved in some he say, she say gossip with other nations, getting the Philippines. I want to say it was the Philippines, the Koreans. I can't think of the other nation family. Getting them all in a tizzy, telling them that China's stealing part of the sea from them. So they were all bickering with China, and China was pretty much telling all of them to go have several seats. This is part of our sovereign space, and if you bring your ass over here and come across it, it's going to be on and popping. So in the meantime, this had been going on for a good 6 months, close to a year. Well, China being the boss that they are, it's not always about using military power. So I believe, now this is Rhonda's little lowly opinion, 2 cent family, China went behind doors with these particular nations that had a beef with them allegedly over the South China Sea because the U.S. Corp's ass was trying to kick up dirt. And they said, listen here, U.S. Corp is on their way out. So therefore, look, you going to need to do commerce, player. So you need to be trying to get on the winning team. So all of a sudden, I started seeing articles where China was and clamming it up with these nations that supposedly had beef with them. And so now the U.S. Corp started flying their shit around China's space, like close to the line. And so China said, okay, you think I'm playing with you. So China started sending warnings to them. I'm telling you, U.S. Corp, your ass crossed this line, we're going to fire on you. So that's the game that's being played. So now China's showing their military might, showing up that particular area, telling the U.S., we're going to spank your ass, keep playing with us. So that's what's going on with that, and it makes perfect sense why China is having those pop-up surprise drills. So hold on a second, family. Brother Wendell said he's on. I don't see you. Well, let me do it this way. I'm going to open up the phone lines. Okay, so press *6 to get in the queue. Brother Wendell, I don't see you on this raggedy board. I think I see you now. Yeah, I just found you, brother. Forgive me. Okay, you there, brother?
I hear you popping off.
I know, they didn't re-piss me the hell off.
they done re-piss you off?
Because I had kind of got off their back for a little bit, and then they come with some fresh bull. I'm like,
hey, you can't get off their back, baby. You at war. You don't come off their back.
I'm like, I was all in my zen, like, and then they come out with some bullshit. So now I got to get back on their back again. So,
that's what they do.
How you doing, love?
I'm good.
Good. We missed you last week, but we're gonna go back in, get it cracking again this week. So glad you back with us.
Yeah, I had a little wrinkle in the program last week. It's all right.
That's all right. That's good. You want to take your little vacation like you tease girls. So, all right, whatever. You taking your little vacay. It's all cool. So, All right, so did you want to put something on it? Family, the phone lines are open, so just press *6 to get in the queue. Did you want to put something on there? Because they didn't piss me to so-and-so off.
No, they just showing themselves, that's all.
Yeah. So, just real quick, with the rest of the most important point on this particular article, according to the Chinese defense minister, the USS Decatur was trespassing by the islands. It was approached by at least 2 Chinese vessels. The People's Liberation. I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, Brother Wendell. Okay. All right. So basically, China was saying they asked was trespassing, and they Navy ships gave them warnings to leave. Okay, and so of course the U.S. corporate saying calling the American sail by a serious offense and aggressive behavior. China accused the U.S. intentionally sending U.S. warship to Chinese territory waters without permission. We strongly urge the U.S. side to respect China's sovereignty and national security concerns. Now, this what blew my wig back. Now, see, if this ain't gangster, you tell me. Do not repeat the mistake again, Chinese defense minister said. Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of that article, but I did want to give you a feeling on how it is really, really popping off. So the UK done sent this shit. Russia done sent their shit over. Well, Russia was already over in Syria, but the UK is getting antsy because Russia pretty much have their shit covered as well. The U.S. Corp call themselves being slick on the South China Sea. And let's not forget that it is rumored that China and Russia already have our particular coast covered as well with military vessels. So just pay attention, family. It's about to jump off. So let me go to 661. 661, your line is open.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Beloved, I'm well. How are you, sis?
Great. Good to hear Wendell back.
I know. He took his little vacation. It's good to hear him back, though.
That's one of those unintentional vacations, you know?
No, you don't be giving me that when I be sick with the flu and everything. Girl, you can't be taking no vacation, blah, blah, blah. What's on your mind, sis?
I just wanted to add there's one other thing that I think that we could add to the mix of why they're over there. Other than the oil, which is a mega ton of oil they found over there, it's an imperialistic move. And imperialism is always about the land.
Very good point, sis.
They want to conquer and control. And what I heard years ago, that Israel does not have the airspace necessary to launch their satellites and their missiles without going across somebody else's airspace. Don't have the airspace. They want to make a greater Israel, which would mean get rid of all those people who surround them and occupy those lands.
Now, you know what? I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
And the United States is supporting that.
Now, you know that makes a lot of sense.
The Balfour Document is in 19 whatever it was, is what gave Israel the land in 1948.
48.
So that's what I heard. The whole thing is they want to take out all the lands around them, Syria included, and even some of Africa, I think, and become the owners of that land. So with that,
that's very, very interesting. Okay, sis. Well, thank you so much. Wow. You want me to leave you open and you mute yourself?
Hey, I hope she's still on. Check this out, though.
Yeah, she there. Mm-hmm.
That whole little move they made by going over there, taking that little piece of land of Palestine, because it's not Israel.
Right.
See, they didn't get greedy enough. Now they got to come back and try to get greedy.
That's
and
right.
Take the whole region. Not going to happen.
No, time is up on that one. You know, they had to move that way before, and, you know, say, hey, we need all of this space. But, you know, they didn't have rockets, and they have satellites, and they didn't have this and another.
Yeah.
And so, you know, hindsight is always 20/20.
Yeah.
So
that makes a lot of sense. And then, Brother Wendell, I don't know when you jumped on, but we had I had tied in about how you know, the Anunnaki and stuff, that was their stomping grounds with the spaceport and when Nu gave out territories and so they ass is still over there trying to, you know, the fallen angels, which is i.e. the Ajiji, still trying to get some shit. Yeah.
Exactly. But and another thing, as far as everybody running and hiding too, going into all these bunkers and things, there is a scripture. I think it's I was about to say Ezekiel, but it may not be. But it's a scripture where they're going to ask the rocks to cover them and hide them from the fury of the Most High. And so this is, they're just playing out prophecy. This drama.
Yep. That's exactly what they're doing.
You can almost laugh when he's already got this under control. And if you're going to do that universe, multiverse, bending time, well, you need to get in that book and see that you can't do it. And there's a scripture in Daniel about they're going to change time.
Now sis, now come on, now do you know it off that that particular scripture?
I think it's in the 7th chapter of Daniel.
Girl, now you know I'm finna research that. So the 7th chapter.
I think I can go look it up.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me know when you find it out. So, sis, you want me to leave you unmuted and you mute yourself and just come in when you want to put something on it, or?
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay, all right. Sounds good, sis. Okay.
There's no place to run. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide. There will be no stone left unturned.
Exactly, because even with the bunkers, and I see you 917, I'm coming to you, sweetheart. Even with the bunkers, does not prophecy say that the earth is going to shake?
You going to get crushed. You might as well stay up here on the surface and deal with that.
Right. So, you know, we're seeing all of this stuff play out, and like I've been telling people on a personal level, and I've mentioned it several times on air, that for every physical action, there is a spiritual action.
Yeah.
So everything that they are doing in the in the physical realm, with this financial system, with the war, whether it be psychological, biological, etc., they funky asses. Now, not all of them know. Let's make that clear. Not all of them know the spiritual component behind it, but you best believe that the controllers that control the puppets, they know doggone well this is about a spiritual warfare. They already know. So just pay attention, family. So, okay, let me go to 917. Okay, 917, your line is open.
Greeting, my brothers and sisters.
Greetings, Brother Lincoln.
Rise and shine, rise and shine. I don't have much to say, but I'm just letting you guys know that I'm tuning in to you guys. For the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, I've been, having another job that I'm obligated to. So I'm not basically able to tune in as much as the way I'm supposed to tune in. But today I try to make the effort, of tuning in, and I'm going to ask you, Brother Lindell, or Sister Wanda, I'm going to ask you on those 12 weeks of the book of Inky. I don't know if you have the audios or stuff that you could send to me or something like that.
Yeah, we actually have them all. The archives are on YouTube, so you have access to the internet.
That's going to be very difficult for me.
Lincoln.
Yes, sir.
I will go on to YouTube, and I'll start recording them all, and I'll get them to you.
Okay, I greatly appreciate it. Because for the couple of calls that I've been listening to with it, man, trust me, it's off the hook.
Yes.
It's off the hook. And I, when you I heard you start a new journey about the spiritual energy. That's with the numbers energy. That's another part that I really want to take interest into, because I got to know how my energy is working. And I thank you guys. And with this war that is going on, I don't know, but all I have to say to us, we have to put our mind where we want to be.
Yeah.
Because, we can't worry about them. We got to know where our heart really is. So y'all can able to bless us and protect us. Because he's the one that's watching over us, okay?
Indeed, brother, indeed.
And I yield. And I'm listening.
Okay,
I might be dropping off early today, too, okay?
Okay, no worries, Brother Lincoln. Thank you so much. It was great hearing your voice. Peace and love, brother.
Peace and love.
Rhonda, I have it.
Okay, that's that verse, sis. Yeah,
yes.
Daniel. Okay, Daniel.
7:25.
Okay, and I see you, 256. I'm coming to you. Let me just pull it up right quick, because now you can straight, Okay, got me my curiosity on this, sis. It won't take long. Okay, let me see. So we're saying Daniel 7th chapter, 25th verse. Rhonda, if you can spell right tonight. Okay, I like the King James Version. Me personally. Okay.
I have it open.
Okay, you have it, sis?
I have it open Bible, yeah.
Okay, all right. If you want to read that to us.
And he shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall intend to change times and laws. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time.
Am I like in the Twilight Zone? Has this always been here? First of all, they say the Most High.
Yes, they do it in most of the prophets. That's why I start calling him the Most High, because you look at Jeremiah and Ezekiel and all those people, they call him the Most High. They don't call him anything but.
Yep, but the Most High. Wow. And then this thing about, and think to change time and laws.
And they didn't change the laws.
Yes.
They done taken us out of power.
Yes.
They changed laws to make them the ones that discovered everything and, have this planet and this earth and this country.
Right. Because in addition to changing, when I think of laws, there's two things, and remember, everything has, and I see you 256, I'm coming, sweetheart. There's two facets. For every physical, there's a spiritual. So when I think of changing laws, I think of the fact that we really should be operating under, from a physical perspective, common law, right, which is linked to the Most High law. Okay. And then on the spiritual component, the same thing. They've changed, or they call themselves trying to change the universal law, okay, and which everything is supposed to be in balance. And right now, everything is out of balance, and why we have so much chaos, and therefore so much suffering going on, because the universal laws, some of them are being broken, and we're just out of balance. So exactly. Very, very interesting, sis.
But
look here.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. They ain't changed no law. It's impossible for them to change natural law. They can't change nothing that they ain't created. Now what right. they manipulated is the little law that they created. Natural law is still here and it's gonna be here. It ain't going nowhere. Nobody can change that but y'all. That's it.
Yeah, the Most High. I would agree with that, Brother Wendell, and let's restate it. They didn't change it. They just MFing ignoring it.
Yeah, that's what they doing.
Just ignoring it, doing their own thing, and stuff ain't been right since then.
But
so very good point.
When we were studying that ancient years ago in the church and everything, everybody was changing the calendar, but nobody thought about the Mandela effect and then time and the multiverses. And it just dawned on me, that's what it says they're going to do.
Yep, it makes a lot of sense. And peep this: the reason they even changed the calendar was so those that were kept up with the original teachings of the ancestors to throw us off on what age we're really in.
Exactly.
Because if you know what age we're in, you know what the hell's about to happen.
Exactly.
So very, very interesting, sis. Very interesting. Okay, go ahead, brother.
See how that worked out? You just proved what I just told you.
How did I prove it?
You just proved it. They manipulated the calendars so that they could manipulate everything else. They hadn't changed anything.
You're right. You're right. Very good, brother. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And you're right. And it don't matter how much they manipulate, how many chemtrails, how many false flags, how many people are asleep, comatose, dead. Prophecy will still fulfill itself, because remember, it's already been written. It's already been spoken. Therefore, it has already been done. We're just playing this out in the physical.
Well, that's a little bit of Kabbalah.
Woo! Interesting.
Where they write it in.
Yep.
The tree of life at the level of the Sephirah, the lower levels. And so when Ezekiel was prophesying, the Most High told him to write what's going to happen in the clay tablets. Write it. And once you write in clay, that's what was it Thorpe, when he was supposed to be created mankind, he was pouring them out in clay.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And once you set it in stone or clay, you can't undo it.
It's a done deal.
A done deal.
Yep. So I hope you caught that, family, and we're actually going to get into a little bit of that tonight, but that's manifestation 101. Writing what you want, speaking what you want, thinking what you want. So that's manifestation 101. But okay, let me go to 256. Let me do 256, and I see you 404. Okay, 256, your line is open.
Thank you. This is Sis in Alabama.
There goes the superstar. The superstar caller.
I know. Hey, sis.
I love all of you, too.
Oh, we love you, too, beloved.
And I did miss Wendell last week. He had to go out there and pick them greens before fall.
I know. But you know he can't go without his little greens. He was probably done picked them, washed them, cooked them a little bit, froze them, all of that. You absolutely right. That's probably what he did.
Yeah, we in the old school, how that fall frost hit them greens out there in the field.
It make them stronger. It make them stronger. You have to let that first frost it'll make them stronger.
And they so good, man.
They do need the bomb, though.
Me.
Oh, boy. Y'all going to make me cook some greens tomorrow.
And the brother that just got off. Hey, the brother that just got off. I forget your name already.
Brother Lincoln. Brother Lincoln,
yeah, that was my brother's best friend's name, Lincoln. How can I forget?
Oh, yeah, that's the
Lincoln. And that sis, that's on Ring a Bell for me. That's why I jumped on. She was talking about how they attempt. You know, they attempting so much, they get confused of what they're trying to do.
Exactly.
To change stuff. Like she was saying with the calendar, so we're going to fool them. They ain't going to know what time it is. We're going to fool them.
Right.
So the other thing I thought of was the judgment that comes down on the nation. And when they get to that point of disobedience, is how they bring the judgment upon their nation. And it starts with the homosexuality. And the homosexuality is like opening up Pandora's box, because that spirit of the homosexuality is unsatiable. It doesn't get satisfied. So what's the next step? They're going to go start having intercourse with the animals, which brings about a total different creation. That's their attempt to change the law, because the law is man and woman bring forth children. Then when they start mating with animals and it's half animal or part animal and part human, now that demonic spirit is bringing forth its own creation, so therefore they're changing the Most High's law. That's the way I was thinking about it. So I thought I'd just chime in on how they do attempt to change everything that's in accordance, but they can't escape this prophecy. So
no, they can't. But that's interesting that you bring up the homosexuality. Let's talk about that a little bit, because there's two folds to that. Now, the first fold is what you said, is that the homosexuality itself is a particular demonic spirit, and it goes against natural law. Okay, so that's the first fashion of that. Now, the second fashion of that, what is being said, I guess actually there's three facets of. The second facet of that is that because of the age that we are in, that some of the beings or spirits or souls that are incarnating and reincarnating are either jumping into a body that they're not comfortable with. So meaning, I usually incarnate as a woman, but this time I incarnated as a man, and therefore it's just messing me up. So that's why I'm drawn to homosexuality. Some are also saying that because of the age where we are trying to get back in balance with having the feminine be back on balance with the male, because what also kept us at a lower vibration is that feminine energy was suppressed. I would go as far to say that it was kind of wiped out from a power perspective. So some are saying because the planet is coming back in balance and the feminine energy is rising, that is confusing a lot of the souls as well. And so the folk that know all of this, they know what age that we're going into, they're using that to their advantage. So that's why they are promoting homosexuality. Some say that it's definitely to stop folks from recreating or procreating, and particularly the melanated folk, because that's the stronger gene, that's the original gene. So to stop that particular sector from mating. So those are the facets as far as the homosexuality is concerned. Now, all I can say on that part is we do know that the homosexuality does not allow for procreation. Now, my personal opinion on the matter, I'm not here to judge what nobody do in their particular bedroom. I've always felt that way. So that's just my 2 cents. So I did want to give those fashions of what is going on from the spiritual perspective. It is also said it's because of these energies that are balancing themselves, and folks are not going to be able to handle it, or they're confused. So there's going to be a lot of gender ambiguity, and they're also saying that, damn, what's the hermaphrodite? Is that the particular where folks have both sex organs? Yeah. I think that's it. Okay, hermaphrodite. It was also said that during this age that we're coming into as well, that hermaphrodite energy would also be very high on this planet. Homosexuality is nothing new. That's not new. Folks messing with these animals being nasty as F, that's nothing new as well. In my opinion, it is the energies that's coming through on this planet. We have a cleansing going on. We have a balancing going on. And some folk just can't handle it. So.
Right. I totally agree. And it's so many, like you were telling us about, the spiritual, the physical, and it's so many different dimensions. And that demonic presence loves to bring about its own image also. And you think about the image of the creatures, is that the Baphomet, the half goat and the half man and all that. And my understanding is that's when the Most High steps in and destroys that civilization before the law goes that far, when man starts uniting with the animals to bring forth that other type of
entity or deity
for that demonic spirit, because the demonic spirit is like thumbing its nose at the Most High and say, hey, like, I see your creation, but, hey, I'm working on bringing forth mine, and just let us go. See, homosexuality, they say, in the closet. You're not supposed to flaunt it. Well, this is the way my understanding is. When you start flaunting it and that's that demonic spirit getting in there and taking over in the society, and you're thumbing your nose at the Most High. You keep it inside and private is what is your business, okay? But once you start going out and you got to flaunt it, and you got to have these orgies, and you got to have the animals, you're flaunting and you're bringing on fast that judgment will upon, and see, when the nation steps in and makes it legal and says it's okay, now the nation is engaged in the encouragement or the sanction of it, and now the judgment has to come to cleanse this. So they say, point to the different times in the book where those societies were destroyed, and it came to that point of when they started, it just, got all out there, and it's like, oh no. So thank you. One heart, one mind, one spirit, and I yield.
Okay, sis. Thank you so much. Peace and love. And I'm coming to you, 404. She brings up another excellent point when she was giving her viewpoint, because that Baphomet symbol, I mean, if you, some say it definitely represents them giving homage to Lucifer, because, it represents the goat, and those that follow the Illuminati. You can go out on YouTube. They have tons of videos on that. But from a metaphysics perspective, some say that goat Baphomet represented the two duality. That's what I'm trying to say. Duality, male, female, have man, animal, etc., etc. And if you look at that one famous picture, you see the goat with one hand up, one hand down. That's as above, so below. You see sun and the moon, so night and day, etc. So supposedly from a metaphysics perspective, that represented duality. Okay. Now with everything, hopefully out of anything that you've gotten off the Truth Uncompromised shows, you've gotten this. Anytime, and even when Brother Wendow broke it down on the Lost Book of Enki, anytime you're dealing with those high sciences, anything can be misused. And that is a big problem that we're having today, because some folk have taken the sciences, the high sciences, and used them to their MF advantage.
Right.
To keep the planet at a low vibration under their control. If you remember, when we were getting deep into the Lost Book of Enki, the Anunnaki themselves, they was chilling with all these special devices and moving shit and able to point a device at a planet and see whether or not it's water, or point the device and get a message a couple of galaxies over from Nibiru, but yet they had the man pulling the damn plow because they didn't want them to have that knowledge. So a facet of the Anunnaki passed that knowledge down to who the blank they wanted to pass it down to. And so even with that, the camp was split. You have those holders of the knowledge that know the science behind it, and they're going to hold the light and try to balance it out. Then you have the other ones, unfortunately, in this age that we're just coming up out of, have used it to keep it at a lower vibrational state. So we also have to look at that as well. Look at it from a metaphysics science perspective, too, why things are being done the way they are. I yield.
You know, Rhonda?
Yes,
you're absolutely right on that, because you have to look at the EGGs. They taught men all kinds of sciences and charms.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the fact that years ago they discouraged breastfeeding, and the reason they discouraged breastfeeding was because they wanted to put you on the formulas.
Mm-hmm.
Formula was better for the children. So why did they do that? Because the soy-based formulas add estrogens to the diet.
Yep. Raise the estrogen levels. That is
correct.
Raises
the estrogen levels, so then you get homosexual tendencies, because the young babies at that particular point of development is sensitive to estrogen.
Absolutely.
And so if you look at the age group now that twitch and do their homosexual thing, they're in their 30s or 40s, which is about the matter of fact they did it before then, but when they really got down with it, it's about that age group that they started doing it when they were babies.
Yes, when they started discouraging women to not breastfeed. Now, mind you, it was the melanated women they discouraged not to breastfeed. Because let's keep it real. Back in the day, melanated women breastfed more than Caucasian women. Because shit, who the hell could afford to go buy some damn formula?
Right. But the Caucasians,
that wasn't even rolling like that.
Yeah, but the Caucasians are the ones that are having more problems with their young men and and girls turning into a homosexual beings. So we're just starting to tip the iceberg too, because some fell prey to that concept and not to breastfeed. Yes,
and now it's starting to turn around again, where women in the melanated community are definitely back to breastfeeding. And of course, it's that of putting the baby on the formula, but you don't get a lot of the nutritional value. So that was a whole, I call that their psychological warfare to purposely make you institute biological warfare on your damn self.
That's truth. That's right.
So very good point, sis. Very good point. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
I just want to make a point. We can't forget another aspect of the manipulation of the law, and that's transhumanism.
Ooh, now explain that. You can't throw them big words around without giving us the explanation. What is
transhumanism? That's half human and half machine.
Yep.
They've been working on that thing feverishly over. Yeah.
For a minute. You remember that movie AI by Steven Spielberg?
Yeah.
I want to say the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's what that was all about, with them making the artificial intelligence. That's what AI stands for. Making that where the robots look so human-like. Poor robots. So anyhow, they had them as housekeepers, workers, had the robots tricking and everything.
Yeah.
So that was back then. And so now they actually have AI robots that do human-like. They have human-like or man-like. I don't even like to use the word human. That's a separate story. Man-like and woman-like movements, and they're trying to recreate a machine to think like mankind and everything. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, it is said, one of my sis knows a brother that goes real deep. That brother, I know he done been to a couple of multiverses. And he said that once the transhumanism agenda starts getting pushed, that's it. That the folks that are ready to move to another realm because their particular vibration is at the state that they can do that, that's when they're going to be up. And that's when that particular realm, that third level density realm, will be left with that transhumanism and all that other drama that's going to pop off. So that's a very interesting point, Brother Wendell. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to go to 404. Let me see here. Okay. 404, sorry about that. Your line is open. I know we took a while to get to you.
That's okay. Greetings. I was unable to listen live to the review of The Lost Book of Inky, but I've actually been catching up to the past episodes on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But since I'm no longer on Facebook, I can't send a message. Is it possible to get a copy of the notes?
The notes? Sure.
Yes.
Can you have access to email?
Yes.
Okay. You can email truthUncompromised@gmail.com, and then I'll send you the notes.
Perfect. And one more question. Are the calls for Sis Lioness, are they still on Saturdays?
Yeah, to my knowledge, I had someone else ask me about the calls. I think she's supposed to be doing them on Wednesday and Saturday. I don't know, Brother Wendell, if it's on Fridays. Because she'll send it. Okay, we do know Saturday for sure. I'm not for sure if she does it on Wednesday all the time. We'll get an email from Sis Lioness every now and then, and hopefully it's Sis, if you're on tonight, get in the queue and let us know for sure, because this is the second person. I had somebody hit me up the other day and asked if you was yesterday and asked if you were having a call Wednesday, and I wasn't for sure. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, sis. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Okay. All right, family. Well, we didn't just gave up our little news time. We didn't straight jumped into the the other part, but that's all good. So we're going to go into the main topic. So we're actually doing part 2 of the Universe Master Code, How Sound, Shapes, and Numbers Create Our Reality. So last week I got a chance to introduce the family, to Professor James Gate, and he kind of proved, well, I shouldn't say prove, he has a theory how mathematics can be tied to the Big Bang per se. And so Sis Lioness came in and dropped another brother on us, and we hadn't even gotten through all of the show last week, and she dropped Brother Gabriel Oyeo on us and the Gaget concept. So I wanted to also bring him into the mix to discuss his particular theorem. So now this the cool part about Dr. Gabriel Oyebo, and notice the name Gabriel, okay, hint archangels. His particular one is not theory, his is theorem. So his is called the Grand Unified Theorem. So the difference between a theory is like has not been concrete proven yet. Theorem has been proven. So this is very, very interesting. So we're going to get into him a little bit tonight. And then I also found a jewel where Dr. Oyebo and Dr. Phil Valentine did a drop together. I was like, oh, hell no. I was like jumping up for joy, like, woo, it's on. So I was happy to find that particular jewel. So we're going to share that as well. So before we go into that, I do want to finish up where we left off, because we didn't have a chance to talk about how manifestation also ties into vibrations. And I can't make this stuff up. Sis Sandra came in and talked about writing stuff in stone. Okay? So the clay tablets, you know, the Sumerians, we went through the whole Lost Book of Enki. We got towards the end of the Lost Book of Enki, and Enki told you why he wrote the little book. He wanted to set the record straight, this, that, and the third. He had his scribe write this. So, Brother Wendell, weren't the Lost Book of Enki, was that not found on clay tablets?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was found. It was found on the clay tablets for the Sumerians, but you have to remember, somewhere on this planet it still exists what it was originally written on, and that was written on that lapis lazuli, that precious blue stone over there in that area of Afghanistan.
We talked about that. That's right. That's right, because you even in the notes have a picture of that beautiful stone. So, you know, that family is right there, what you call science, a manifestation, the law of attraction. Now, we also, during that Lost Book of Enki series, we talked about how it was written in the first known written language that we know of on this planet called cuneiform. Now, if you were to go out and Google cuneiform, they will show you how cuneiform looks. Cuneiform looks like shapes, geometric shapes. We talked about last week how, and that's really the whole theory of Brother James Gate, how this planet is governed, or the universe in general, not just this planet, is governed by shapes, and how sounds resonate into shapes, and how shapes resonate into mathematics. And he showed how you can take the particular geometric shapes and you can literally do the high mathematics of physics and algebra. So I thought about that after last week's show, and I thought about the clay tablets, and I thought about cuneiform, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Cuneiform, that's all it is. It's different shapes that they turned into a language. And that is why that's called a sacred language. And it is also said that is why, dang, Brother Wendell, who changed the split up where everybody spoke different language? Was that Enlil when he did the Tower of Babel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Enlil did that. Yeah.
Okay. So Enlil was the one that, you know, dispersed everyone, and then they started speaking different languages. And it was said that that written language and the way we spoke that written language was so powerful for manifestation that that's also one of the reasons it was changed and it was watered down. So we went from cuneiform, then you have metaneta, then you have Hebrew, and then you have on down the line, and now we're into English, what we particularly speak in this country, which is a very bastardized language. Okay.
Let's be real with that. English language is really Latin.
True that, because it is derived from Latin. That is very true. That is very, 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 very true. So I'm saying all that to say that I do want to just a little bit, I have a clip for you all, and it's The Secrets of Vibrations. I don't think I played this last week. If I started and I played it last week, I'll stop it. The Hidden Truths of Sound and the Law of Attraction. This is a YouTube channel, Lucas Hansen. So if I played this, I'll have to stop it. I missed one of my videos, so let me see. Okay, family, here we go.
Excuse me, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
These are subjects I like to talk about. I like to talk about the medical mafia. I like to talk about alternative healing. And I like to talk about the fundamental nature of the universe. Because it's all interconnected, all these things. I mean, we're really just finding our legs as human beings. We were using horse and buggies 100 years ago, and now we're splitting the atom. I mean, these are incredible times. So it does us well to reflect on the nature of humanity, the nature of this universe in which we exist in, because there we will find the answers to all of life's maladies. And we will also discover those who seek to do us wrong on a global scale. And who else to talk to about this other than Dr. Len Horowitz? We're going to talk about his new code, his new Da Vinci Code. It's called 528. 528 hertz. It's a tone. We're going to talk about water and sound and how this whole thing unravels into what he feels is a profound theory on how things work and how we can actually change the world. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Len Horowitz is internationally known authority for overlapping fields of public health, behavioral science, emerging diseases, and natural healing. Over the past 30 years, he's become a best-selling author, educator in consumer protection, alternative and complementary healing, and much, much more. And his latest effort is this 528, the evolving consciousness. Music, he states, is the universal language. Love is the universal healer, and water is the universal solvent. You put them all together, and you have the best-kept secret in history, something so profound and so liberating to the human consciousness that it could very well hasten a spiritual renaissance. Dr. Len Horowitz, welcome back to Coast AM. Something I'm sure that would require a lot more follow-ups. There is an underlying sort of raison d'etre to your research. You've always want to go deeper and deeper. That's one of the things I most admire about you. You're very tenacious. You have a lot of energy. I don't know where you get it all from, but it's something that has served you well because you have really, really tried to crack this code. And this new thing, this 528, is something that I know that you're just really excited about. For people who have no idea about these types of things, what would the first thing you'd tell them about it?
Well, look at a blade of grass. Tremendous intelligent design. It's greenish yellow. It's vibrating in 528 hertz frequency.
A blade of grass vibrating.
Yep, that's exactly what it's doing. And all of the botanical world is actually celebrating 528 hertz frequency.
Now, when you say something is vibrating, clearly it's not to the naked eye. On what level are we talking about here?
You're looking at, like, genetics, the sound and light signaling that's coming in. Actually, we're breathing the result of the vibration and the reception of light signals that are coming from the sun. The electrons that are coming off the sun are actually taken in the energy and transformed via the blade of grass, or all of the botanical world pretty much is celebrating with chlorophyll the sun's energy. And it's transforming that energy into oxygen that we breathe to keep us alive.
Okay. Well, that sounds like something that we can all get behind. How does this translate into this vibration?
Well, there's actually 9 core creative frequencies to the universe. We now know that there's a perfect circle of sound. We now know from NASA recordings that the sun is actually beaming 528 hertz as kind of a central frequency within it, and that among those 9 core creative frequencies, we find the original musical scale.
Now, when you say we now know, what source are you citing there?
Well, there's a tremendous blessing that Marco wrote, and who's a mathematician, genius in math, has administered via a simple understanding of mathematical patterns from which the universe can be constructed. And he's created a toroidal structure, and actually he's now promoting free energy technology, kind of like Tesla did, based on this simple mathematics.
So I understand he's making a mathematical construct of the universe?
That's exactly right, because that's like God's language. It's the way that the entire universe is constructed, including we, the people, is through a musical mathematical matrix composed of 9 simple core creative frequencies.
Like the 9 steps on a scale?
Yeah, you could think of it that way. The original musical scale was 6 notes. It was ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. And the third note, the Miragistorum note in Latin, is miracles in English. The miracle note of the original scale, as well as the entire universe, is 528.
So where is that information coming from?
Well, the first indicators of that was in 1998, Dr. Joseph Paleo. He was a naturopathic doctor in search of the original musical scale, and he couldn't find it. He went to the Catholic Church. He was a devout Catholic. They wouldn't give it to him, even though they apparently had it. They apparently buried it with about 150 Gregorian chants because they were very spiritually uplifting, and apparently they decided that we the people don't deserve them. But he was visited, and this is, I know, an amazing story, and the book called Healing Codes for the Biological Apocalypse goes into his story in the first 6 chapters, where he was visited by Jesus, who showed him in the book of Numbers, chapter 7, verses 12 through 83, a repeating series of numbers that are the original solfeggio scale, and they were encoded in the verse numbers to the Bible.
Wow, that is some story. There is these tones, these scales, that you say these large religious institutions were aware of.
Yeah, well, that kind of goes back to this concept that we're talking about from the beginning. You know, there's good and evil in the universe, and the revelations actually begin to explain that without getting into it in depth right now, I'll just say that there is evil, and that evil is part of nature. It's part of what God's created, and it's actually the frequency 741, which in fact is resonating in the A440 standard tuning of the Western world's music. So we're actually listening to a frequency in all of the world's music today, Western world, that vibrates to the tone that vibrates in dissonance to 528, love, miracles.
Well, we're getting into this heavy, but let's go back to what you touched on earlier before, because I think there's something very fascinating about the idea of these vibrations coded into these Gregorian chants, because the same thing could be held true for the chants of the Tibetan lamas, where in this vibration there are very powerful tones that have extraordinary effects on the human physiology, for example.
Absolutely, and that's where we're at with this. These revelations are awesome. For example, you know, when you laugh, ha ha, the ha sound. When you yawn, it's similar. It's ya or ha. And when you sigh, it's the same thing, ah. And when you even scream, it's ah. There's this ah-ah sound. And that AH sound, if you go to my friend and colleague Jonathan Goldman's sacredtempleofsound.org, and tomorrow they're having a wonderful Valentine's Day sound healing day, you can actually
What would we find?
I'm sorry?
What would we find there?
You'll find hundreds, if not thousands, of people online that automatically, when you sigh, when you chant, when you laugh, you're actually vibrating the same frequency as green grass, as the botanical world is celebrating, as the sun is emitting. It's this amazing reality where we begin to realize that the voice, the sounds, are creative. Just like in the book of Genesis, in the beginning, you had the Creator, you had the water. Then in Genesis 1:2, it says that the Holy Spirit of the Creator hovered over the face of the water, divided the waters from the waters, into which then, into this dome or firmament that the Bible calls it, that the physics world calls the quantum field, the words, which are sounds, which are frequencies. Mathematics was spoken, let there be light, and out pops the sun. And that's very similar to the model that dolphins display when they sonically vibrate underwater bubble rings up to about 5,000 degrees, and through this process that science calls sonoluminescence, light actually comes out of the water. So it's fascinating to realize that these sacred sounds are inherent in particularly the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, which is consistent with all the different languages.
Okay, so the beginning of the universe very well could have been a sound, and it is codified in the Bible as let there be light, right?
Yeah, exactly, and light came out of sound. So you've got sound being the principal fundamental creative technology, and you look at your own lips, that essentially makes your lips and your sounds that you emit with your lips the most powerful healing technology on earth.
Well, you know, come to think of it, there's a passage in the Old Testament that actually speaks to this, no pun intended. It's the story of Moses, and he killed those 2 Egyptian men. And the way he did it is significant. It is said that he killed them by saying a tetragrammaton, the sound of the Word of God.
Well, that's fascinating. The whole Bible stories are tremendously supportive to the science that we're now discovered, because if you look at Moses was also bade to open the matrix and was blessed by God to open up the matrix. Of course, the story of the crossing of the ocean, whereby the seas parted for Moses, and the reality was that this whole concept of a matrix, which is literally what Marco Rodin and Victor Showell and the other mathematicians and the geniuses in physics say, that the universe is created by a mathematical matrix that then, again, sound frequency matrix is what's creating. You begin to see that this is extremely powerful, it's sacred, and we've been really, really blessed. And
well, look, there's a lot of substantiation for this that's coming out on different levels. For example, agrosonics, the use of sound to interact with plants to make them grow faster. Mm-hmm. We all heard the story of the guy who had a vineyard in Europe, and he played Mozart for his plants, and they grew really well. But there's even more research that suggests they can actually target with specific frequencies to specific plants, and they can accelerate the growth by 50, 100 times.
Exactly. Yep. It's also called biosonics, and it's being used. And I've been involved with some of the folks that have designed those types of growth chambers, and we do that type of experimentation in Hawaii.
So it's fact that sound interacts with physiology, both plant, animal, and if we learn to harness and focus these different frequencies, we can have specific effects. So the question is, for healing and love, there is a tone, but I wonder if sound can also be used as a weapon.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Where the Western world acquired its standard tuning is in 1939, when the Rockefeller Foundation instituted, through the British Standards Institute, standard tuning to A440 hertz frequency. And that was derived from military acoustic warfare research that determined the most dissonant, most stressful, most psychosocially, virtually demonic or stressful frequency, diseasing frequency, even, quote, mass hysteria, end quote, inducing frequency. And that, in fact, was the British Standards Institute was persuaded by Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels to institute that frequency. And this was about 3 months before Hitler invaded Poland, and British Secret Service and the British government knew in advance that this was going to happen. And this is what the con job has been. And if you study the A440 standard tuning in music that we're all listening to, and that the musicians are virtually compelled to use if they want to tune, for example, to pianos, then what we realize is that it's suppressing the 528, it's suppressing the heart chakra. Everything down from the throat chakra down is suppressed, and everything from the throat chakra up is stimulated, including the left brain, egoic mind, the reasonable, rational mind that science plays on. And now it's no wonder when you realize this, or this is at least a major factor for science becoming kind of like the new God.
Wow, that's quite a progression there. What you're saying is that the tones that contemporary Western music is based on does not include these quote-unquote sacred tones, and they're somewhere in the middle of these different keys. They're semitones. They're not something that struck in any formal or classical sense.
Well, close, but let me just refine that.
Okay.
In fact, this 741, now if you look at the perfect circle of sound, they are, as I mentioned, the original 6 solfeggio notes were 396, 417, Miracle 6 was 528, 639, and then 741. That 741 note, that's the fifth note, is F sharp. When you're tuned to A440, the standard tuning, that 741 is the exact equivalent to F sharp, which is the augmented fifth in music. And in fact, in musicology, the interval between 528 and 741, so in other words, between love and virtually fear and dissonance. It's called the devil's tone in musicology, or the devil's interval. It causes, if you play those two notes together, it causes such tremendous stress that you don't want to listen to it. It's really dissonant. And it's strange because 528 love virtually harmonizes with everything except that. So then what you're left with realizing is that 741 is part of nature, is part of the original musical scale, but it's in dissonance to love, which leaves us, as readers of the book of 528, with realizing that actually evil is part of the matrix of universal design.
All right, family. So that particular video, I hope I didn't play it last week. I don't think I did. If so, sorry about that, but I still enjoyed it the little second time. But the name of that is The Secret of Vibration 528, The Hidden Truth of Sound, Law of Attraction, Part 1. And I got that off the YouTube channel, Lucas Hansen. So the gentleman that they were interviewing, his name is Leonard Horowitz, Horwitz, and he has a book out called 528 Code of Love. Okay, so I'll yield. Brother Wendell, did you want to put anything else on that?
Yeah, a few years ago, I actually saw that documentary where they were talking, where the guy was growing a vineyard, and they installed a sound system out there. They were playing their classical music, and the grapes were growing bigger and faster.
Wow. But you remember, I mean, those of us that, grew up with your grandparents, or if your parents were old school and they had house plants, and they would talk to the plants when they were watering them or cleaning them. And one of my aunts, rest in power, she would play jazz for her plants. And she had the most pretty plants you could ever think of. So I'm saying all that to say this is certainly nothing new to some of us. We just did not know that it was a science behind it. We thought that it was, quote, quote, superstition. So very good point, Brother Wendell. So the only thing else I wanted to point out in that particular video, because we talked about it last week when he talked about that original musical scale, and I went through the whole scale notes for you all and told you how each one had a different meaning to them, and if you add all three of the hertzes together, they either came out to 3, 6, or 9. And then in addition to that, you heard him say how the musical pitch was changed in all music to that 440 hertz, which is known as, I think he said the devil's something. I forgot, the devil's tone, something like that. Okay, so I also ran across something from a brother off his YouTube video, and I can't play it for you because he did it all in words, and this brother laid this bad boy out, let me tell you. So the name of the video is, I had to notate because it was all words over some beautiful music, by the way. So it's The Importance of A equals 432, and his YouTube channel is called The Truth is Brian. So he was just saying that the music vibration went from 432 to 440 hertz, and we just talked about that in the video. Okay, and so then he went on to say, it is said that the 432 hertz is perfected in tune to our inner ear structure, which is spiral, which also keeps us in balance. In the womb, our hearts beat to a tune or vibration that pulse with the universe. The planet also moves to a hertz, or the planets move to a hertz. Okay, now it's want to get me out of my place. All right. So, example, Saturn orbit time is 864 precession, or 432 hertz times 2. That adds up to the 864 precession. Okay, and so I also noted that Saturn is also said at the top of it, you can see the shape of a pentagram rather. So that goes back to what we were saying, how vibrations, tones also creates the universal geometry shapes. Okay, so he goes on to say, this brother goes on to say, the Stonehenge can be calculated to 432 hertz. This calculation is also a part of the 25,920 precession. Our ancestors laid these stones to describe the shift in the poles, a.k.a. Nibiru's return. Okay, so those of you that followed along with us with the creation story myth, Brother Wendow did an excellent job breaking down the shards, and he even kind of related to what that meant in our time frame. We also talked about that 25,920 precession, and how that's when Nibiru swings back around to our particular solar system, and the stone hedges themselves were set up that way to mirror that. Okay, so the brother goes on to also kind of tell us what the gentleman Horowitz just told us on how that the naval officer Deegan in 1910, he taught the theory of sensation of tone as a foundation for music. Now notice, y'all, that was back in 1910. The pitch of the American Federation of Musicians. He supplied the musicians with tuning forks in 1914 with this new 440 pitch. Okay, so I made a note, what important events happened around that time frame? We had the creation of the Federal Reserve, which most say that was also the start of the New World Order. And this brother went on to say that these particular tones, this new the 440 tone, the devil's tone, was also used in movie realms for World War I. So he goes on to note a book by a lady named Marie Reynolds' book called Intervals, Scales, Tones, and Concert Pitch C equals 128 hertz. Claims conclusive evidence that the 440 hertz and raising the concert pitch above the scientific C prime 128 hertz or concert A 432 hertz disassociates the connection of consciousness to the body and creates antisocial conditions in humanity. So I noted, what do we think that the impact of the specifically the rap music that is played today and or the heavy metal music that was played back in the 80s? Okay, because they're all using that 440 hertz. Okay, so he goes on to say the negative impact of changing the tone of music to 440 hertz was well known. And you heard that brother Horowitz say that as well. This information was well known over 100 years ago, and Rudolf Steiner warned mankind that using luciferic brightness and archimaniac tones in music could bring a condensing of greed forces in the West. He mentioned C prime equals 128 hertz, or the concert A equals 432 hertz, was the Christ consciousness of ascendant energy and Angel Michael, sun tone energy, in the collective awareness of the evolution of man. So again, if you want to go back through that particular YouTube video, he has a very nice musical tone to go along with it. The name of it is, what is the name of it? I just had it, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh, The Importance of A equals 432, and the YouTube channel is The Truth is Brian. Okay, so in case somebody wants to put something on it, you can definitely get in the queue. Okay, go ahead on, sis, absolutely.
I remember somewhere in my repertoire that they studied this from slave music. They found out that we're people very resilient, and that no matter what, we were always singing songs of happiness and overcoming. And so they started investigating why, because they put everything on us that they couldn't possibly put on us. So this is where they started with the experiments back in our time. I mean, not our time, I wasn't there.
With the 1800s then.
In the slavery times. So,
17, 1800s.
So coupled with Mars in its position of power, whatever Mars is in control, then that's when wars and murder and killing goes up, because Mars is considered the planet of war, I think it is.
Yes, yes it is.
So the GGs come from there.
Yes,
so
they do.
Here they go again, you know.
Yes, that's where they were sentenced. They weren't originally from there, because, Brother Wendell, do we know where they asses are originally from, or no?
Oh.
The GG.
We don't know. That
okay,
happened.
I didn't think so.
That stuff happened in the original creation.
Yeah.
Right.
Because remember, when they had come down to Mars, and Anu made a distinction between the three groups that were in existence at that time.
Right.
They were serving the Niberians, which means, and they were called the fallen ones at that point. That means they had to fall before they even came, before they brought them down here. So we don't know.
Okay. Okay, but they were dispatched to Mars, though.
Right.
Serving, and your boy Marduk was over them.
Can you imagine what's going to happen if they get back and Mars is at their command?
Girl, that's why I was saying, excuse me, I know you know this, sis. Excuse me, family. But all of those articles, I didn't see one this week, family. So next week, they'll probably have one talking about some damn going to Mars.
Yeah. Somebody was talking about replacing him, I think I heard. Elon Musk.
Yeah, I heard about that too. They talking about getting rid of him because of that doggone car didn't do well. You know what car I'm talking about. That Tesla. That's what's the name of that car. The Tesla wasn't doing well. So, but yeah. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, so folk trying to get up to Mars, so fallen angel / a GG, y'all trying to get back to Mars. I mean, I don't know if they can do it and if they'll be allowed to, because poor beings on Mars who say they want their asses up there.
But they may have a position of power more so than they have down here.
They may.
That's possible.
They may. They may, and if that's the case, then if they are allowed to go back, because I don't know if they'll be allowed to go back, because we do know that they were trapped.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Well, that's all I had to add to that, because like I said before, that they started changing the music, and now it's really revved up since the Idol, American Idol, and all that stuff came on there. They really get that off, the 440s off, and it changes people's mindsets. And along with that, and the social network and the news and media, they're saying, do it. So if you're already crazy because the music is making you crazy, and then you get the social network saying, oh, it's okay,
right.
do it. So that's how they're controlling us. It's the same way Hitler did.
Yep.
He controlled with music.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, just in the melanated community, because I grew up in the age of Earth, Wind, and Fire and them, which is my favorite band, and there was quite a bit of good music, even with Parliament Funk and them putting out Mothership. They did live bands, live instruments, and so it just made you feel good down in your soul. Versus this, and it could be my age, family, and I'm not that old. That shit that they have out nowadays, I'm like, what? First of all, what the hell are they saying? And then all I think about is some stripper flapping her cakes. That's the type of vibration that this particular music sets off. It's not about love. It's not about feel good. It's all about, I'm going to get me some, or let me go to the club and floss. But that is because of the tone and how far the vibration of the music has fallen.
Well, they want you to get back to your primitive state anyway.
That's true. True that.
Humans, you know how they were created. So one of the first things they said about the first deluge was because they returned to their primitive state.
That is true. That is correct.
This is all psychological warfare to make the end come.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, we know how the story is going to end, because if folks are stuck in that low vibration, then, as the vibration is risen to a certain level, they won't be able to operate or survive or go to that realm. And like they say, misery loves company.
That's true.
So, very good point, sis. I think 917, this is a new 917. I'm going to bring you back in, and if you didn't come on before, just forgive me, and I'll shut your line back. So let me see, 917. 917. Okay, greetings, beloved.
Thanks for that tape that you just played, and we're talking about energy and music. We have to also keep in mind we are all energy. There's energy around us 24/7. Okay, we are just not utilizing it.
Yeah.
While you're sitting there where you are at this present moment, you could hold your hands 6 inches apart across your solar system. And you can feel that energy right now that you don't know, and that's the healing power, the vibration. Also, with the music energy, it changes. And what they do, why you said something of why the music industry changed, because guess what? Most musicians today, they are so intoxicated. Mm-hmm. And especially if they get in the drugs and all of that, they react in certain atmosphere. That's why society is trying to make sure he keep us on a high form. He's making sure he's increasing the material with the drugs and stuff that they're sending out even to the babies and all of that.
Yes.
So we don't get to utilize that energy as the way it is. Because music is really love. Because when you started hearing music, that's when it don't care how sad you are and how depressed you are. When you hear certain music, you start to get the rhythm. You find your head start to bump. That's right. You start to find your head start to bump. And then, you know, you start to rock with it and say, yo, this music is good. You know, you got the vibes right there, you know?
Right, yeah.
Then you start to get into the mood. So what they did, they come with the, you went back to the Shy Lights and all of them. In those days, it used to be like the moonshine. They used to have the moonshine that, you know, everyone used to, you know, let's take a sip of the moonshine, let's go and do our thing, you know? And that's when you kind of hear the sweet melody of the music. But as time goes on, it started to get out of hand. So, you know, that's my intake of it. And I want to say thank you for these, for this tape that you're doing and your lesson that you're bringing to us. Thank you and Lindell and the other young lady that is with you. God is love.
Okay. Okay. Peace and love, Brother Lincoln. Thank you, beloved. Very, very good. Excuse me. Very good point. Brother Wendell, did you want to put something on it before we moved along?
No, go ahead. Keep it moving.
Okay. All righty. So the next concept I would like to get into, and Sis Lioness brought this to my attention last week. This is from Dr. Gabriel Oyebo, and his theorem, meaning that it has been proven, is called Gagut, G-A-G-U-T. Now, Gagut, and I just love this when I found this out. Gagut stands for God Almighty Grand Universal Truth. And so I do have one YouTube clip I want to play for you. It's about 9 minutes long. Now, in this particular clip, it's really, really good, but he was at a conference, and they split this clip up into 5 particular YouTube videos. We're going to look at part 2, or listen to, rather, part 2. And the name of it is God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, Gagut. And this is off the YouTube channel Winter Summer 2012. So let me get this. Let me see here, family, just a second. All right. Yep, here it is. Okay, this is about close to 10 minutes, family. Here we go.
What are the differences between education and indoctrination?
When you're speaking about education, it is something that your mind is normally open for. When education...
Because the roaring water waves, you know, form the basis of quantum theory in the sense that it actually gave the waves, okay, and then you have atom that's shooting out of the waves. That's the building block, okay, of the entire universe, okay, atom, okay, which is today is called atom, okay. This, as the ancient Africans had it, was the basis of, and this is the water waves, okay, this is the roaring water waves of none, okay, and out of it comes the atom, which is the building block, and of course atom is a hydrogen atom, okay, with a proton and a neutron and an electron out there. That's what atom in the model of the ancient Africans was like. Okay? All right. So, in summary, that's what Gagut has done in terms of the origin of the universe. Of course, there's mathematics behind that. And so, ancient Africans by the way, atom is the base of the quantum theory that is being studied today. Okay? The hydrogen atom as a building block was the one that was examined by the modern day quantum theorists to look at if they can break it further, okay, from the model that was given by the ancient Africans.
That's the atom. That's
atom, that's correct, the hydrogen atom, okay? You know, they want to see if you could actually break it further down. And they've actually come up with what they call quarks and leptons as the more fundamental. It turns out that the leptons are basically electron-like, okay? They have characteristics of electron, positive, negative, the charges may be different and so on and so on, but basically they're electrons. So they didn't go too far from the model given by the ancient Africans. So you can say that the ancient Africans are the fathers, grandfathers, and grandmothers of the quantum theory. But they did more than develop a quantum theory, okay? Because the atom as a building block was such a successful, concrete model, okay? They were able to develop a lot of, you know, the beginnings of knowledge as we know it today.
What the quantum theory is.
All right. Quantum simply means particle. Quantum. It's another one for particle. A particle, yes. A particle, okay? Now, so, and that's what the ancient Africans presented. A particle that has a proton in the core and a neutron, and outside, rotating around it, is an electron. This was called hydrogen atom. Okay? This is the ancient, you know. Now, in other words, quantum theory looks at a universe that's made up of particles. Particles. That's basically about quantum theory. Particles. So when you say that the universe is made up of particles, then you are interested in finding the most fundamental particle that constitutes this world that you're looking at. That's the whole theory about quantum theory. And that is where the ancient Africans began. That idea is purely theirs because when they were thinking about it, they precede everybody. They were there, they were thinking about this way before everybody. Okay? Because we're talking 20,000, more than 20,000 years ago. Okay? So, and that idea is what is quantum theory today. Because they did more than a quantum theory. They did miracles, literally. Okay? The ancient Africans were also called chemetic people, which is where the word chemistry comes from as a result of this development. Chemistry. You replace the K with C, it doesn't matter to the pronunciation. Chem. This word, actually, which was coined by the Europeans, is a combination of two words. Okay? The chem, or the mystery, okay? And then chem, which stands for chemetic people. And of course, chem is, if you go into the dictionary, it actually means black, as in black people. Okay? There is no illusions about that. That's a dictionary definition of chem means black, referring to, and chemetic land, which is, which is what Egypt was called, was land of the black people. Chemetic, that's right. Chemetic land means the land of black people. That's where the chem comes from, okay? Now, the mystery refers to what they did with this atom. Okay? This model of atom led to this mystery that the Europeans describe the subject called chemistry, which you ordinarily know as a study of elements and compounds. That's what, ordinarily chemistry is supposed to be about. But the reason they were called mystery of the ancient Africans was because if you gave the ancient African a scrap metal, okay, they will transform that into gold. Okay? They turned scrap metal into gold. That and the subject under which that was done was called the mystery, because that is a mystery. To take a scrap into gold, turn it into gold, become the mystery of the ancient Africans. The subject was also called alchemy. Alchemy. Okay, by the Arabs. Okay, again, the key word is black people. Okay, by way of black people, ancient Africans. Okay, this was by the Arabs, who actually get the word to the Europeans. Okay, now, so, but how did they do this mystery, if you like, call it a black magic? Okay, black magic is what chemistry, another interpretation of chemistry, a mystery of the ancient Africans. So, because they were turning this scrap into gold. How did they do that? Well, it was a big puzzle in Europe. Okay, and of course, much later on, big scientists and mathematicians like Newton would be very dedicated to alchemy or chemistry. Okay, and a lot of famous people have studied the subject. The question is, how did they actually turn the scrap metal into gold? They use, according to Geiger's deductions from the God Almighty's grand unified truth, that mystery can be explained from their model of the universe as coming from a tomb as a building block. You can explain the mystery, which is chemistry, okay, of the ancient Africans, in which scrap metals were turned into gold by using deductions from Geiger and the theory that the ancient Africans have put together. And this is the way it goes. In the process, you would see that the whole chemistry has been, in effect, revised by Geiger, the new theory. And in order to see this mystery, I would take you back to the periodic chart in your chemistry. Periodic chart has...
I don't want to get to solutions first because we have a tendency to not study the problem at its essential.
In other words, I want to do all the things I want to do.
Okay, family. So I don't know why the video was jumping all over the place. But the name of that particular video, that was Dr. Gabriel Oyebo. That was the second video out of God Almighty's Grand Unified Theorem, GOGIT. And GOGIT stands for God Almighty Grand Universal Truth. So I'll yield, Brother Wendell, in case you want to put something on it before I get started. In case you assist. Okay. All right, so just to recap real quick, he did point out where the origins of the word chemistry came from. For those that did not know that, it came from chem, meaning black. So really, the study of chemistry is the study of black or melanin. Okay, so the other thing that kind of blew my wig back with this is that he talked about there is really only one element in the universe, and that is hydrogen. And so everything else that we see around us are different variations of that hydrogen. So he went on to say that the current periodic tables that they are currently teaching, 114 plus elements, that chart is false. It's really various levels and combinations of hydrogen. Okay, so the other thing that just really, really, really blew my wig back in that video when he starts to talk about the concept of alchemy. So that particular concept, for anybody that's unaware, that always meant turning something into gold. I'll put it this way, that's what the catchphrase is when you hear people throw around, we are making alchemy. They're really saying that we're turning something into gold. But from a chemistry perspective, that meant turning metal into gold. And so if you were to go and go through those other videos, because there are 5 videos, they're about 10 minutes apiece, so that would be a little bit over an hour, he would go into actually giving you the formula for turning particular metals into gold. Now, I had heard rumors from several of the quote-quote conspiracy theorists when I did research over the years that they already know how to turn metal into gold. And in the book, Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper said that they perfected that in the 1970s. And so his standpoint that this idea that that there is a certain amount of gold and there could be a shortage is just something that's created. So, Brother Wendell, that made me think of you when we were discussing the Lost Book of Enki and how it was all about the gold and getting the gold back to Nibiru to repair their environment. I thought, could our ancestors, the Anunnaki, had enough time where they studied the particular elements of gold and they came up with a formula to turn metals into that form of gold? And that is also one of the reasons why that they even guarded those metals. We know that the gold was heavily protected, but also the metals were protected as well, because we had one of the Anunnaki, or one of the angels, and I forget that specific angel's name, literally was standing in the lake guarding some metal. So I just want to know, what was your thoughts on that, Brother Wendell, with that whole concept of alchemy?
That goes pretty deep.
I know.
Because we found out that they brought alchemy down here. Because remember, in the Bronze Age, when they were over in South America, is when bronze was actually being made out of tin and copper.
Oh, that's right, dog. Own it, dog. Own it, dog. Own it.
Yeah. So we can't forget how deep that thing goes. We don't know how long, and we truly don't know how long ago that was. They were doing the damn thing.
That's right. I forgot about that. I have to play the explosion sound. I forgot about that. We did uncover that. Actually, you uncovered that they were taking. What were the 2 elements they took to make enough?
Tin and copper.
That's right. So if they were doing that back then to make bronze, right?
Yeah, but let's go back even further though. When they first came down here, they suggested making processing the gold before they put it on the ship. So metallurgy was brought down here way back, way before all this other stuff happened.
That is very true. So maybe that, and family, if you want to join the conversation, the lines are open. Press *6 to get in the queue. So maybe when they were, I forgot about that, they were processing the gold before it made it on the ships to go back to Nibiru. They probably had already either they came up with the formula down here,
they
or
already had that knowledge.
Got you. So basically, they held on to that knowledge like they normally been doing, and so it was finally passed down from one of them to mankind, and somebody actually has that knowledge today, so technically there is no shortage of gold.
No.
Very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting.
It's impossible for it to be a shortage of gold, because let's go back even further than that. To before the celestial battle, Tiamat was given gold as a gift.
Okay, now, come on, say that again. My bad.
Remember back at the beginning of the Lost Book of Enki, when we went through the period before the celestial battle. Tiamat was given the gift of gold. That's why.
Sure was.
That's why this planet is the seat of power, because it was given the gift.
Got you. So alchemy had to have happened to give Tiamat the gold, the gift of gold.
Thank you.
Damn. See what that's what I love. Well, we be bringing it. Man. That's it, Brother Michelle. Okay, so they came here knowing how to go.
They came here already knowing that. They came here with that knowledge. They came here with it. Now, let's go back even a little bit further. Remember, we also discussed during that same piece what planet had the metal. Wasn't that Mercury?
Mercury. Now, that I'ma always remember. Mercury is the planet of metal. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying there's no such thing as a shortage.
Ain't no such thing.
Because even if, let's say, okay, so, and I see you 248, sweetheart, I'm coming to you. So even let's say that things got scarce here with the metals, you could still go to Mercury. And by the way, y'all, that's what Star Wars was about when on the particular Luke Nem was repairing that stuff. They was bringing, actually, the one planet, that was like the scrap metal, because Luke Nem was taking the old machines apart. But there was a reference to a planet of metal. So anyhow, so my point being, even if we had a shortage of metal here, we know Mercury is loaded with it. And so metal can be taken from Mercury and turned into gold, which now makes sense why I heard some people talking about from the global reset world, that the galactics were financing the new system with gold, and the gold was coming from either Venus or Mercury. And I said, okay, if it's coming from Mercury, that's metal. But that makes sense. So they would get the metal from Mercury and transport it wherever they needed to go and turn it into gold. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, I want to refer back to that. Let's go back to that celestial battle again, and remember that when Nibiru was created, and Nibiru had smashed Tiamat and took a little break and came back, and in the description of what Tiamat looked like, she was dripping veins. She had veins that were dripping gold and water.
Dang, that's right.
So if you can picture a body split in half, cut in half, so you could look at the inside of it, one half or the other, you would see veins with nothing but gold and water. So she got plenty of gold, but then we have to ask this question too. How is it that we have all these pyramids and all these grids all over the planet if gold wasn't present? Because that's the best conductor of electricity.
Absolutely. Gold is the best conductor. Absolutely.
And I don't think they would waste all that energy creating all these grids if there wasn't no gold on this bad baby. She got plenty of gold. But on the flip side of that, let's just say Anu decided to make a stop when the Bureau make her pass. You better have all this gold, because he ain't coming around here without getting no gold.
That's true. That's true. And remember, on 248, I'm coming to you. Remember when you made the point that when the South Africans, when the Anunnaki were mining for gold in South Africa, and they had the women do it, and you said because that was like rape.
Yeah,
the men did it.
Yeah, that came from Credo Mutwa.
Damn.
Credo Mutwa explained that they had to let the women do it because it would be rape if the men did it.
That makes sense, and that tied right back into when you said that it was the battle. Tiamat was split in half, and she was pretty much bleeding gold and water. Oh wow, that's deep. That's very deep. Okay, 248. Let me bring on 248. Okay, sorry about that, sweetheart. 248, your line is open.
Yes, good evening.
Greetings.
Sorry I had to go last time because, see, I'd be taking care of my mother, and so if it's time for her medicine or her meal, I have to go give it to her, so I miss out.
Okay, no worries. No worries. Love it.
Today, I've been wanting to ask you all this a long time, and I keep forgetting or either get tied up. But, okay, I'm still trying to figure out why, if they were master geneticists and they needed somebody to mine the gold, the naturally occurring gold, then, and you can make anything you want to make. And when they made hybrids, the Nephilim, they made giants. And it just seems to me, if I could make anybody that I wanted to make to do my work for me that I didn't feel like doing, especially some heavy work like mining, I would not make a Lilliputian. I would make a giant to do that work. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the fact of why they would create us in a miniature version to do this heavy-duty work. And I'm just wondering now, it sounds like they really didn't even need us to mine any gold. So I'm wondering if there was maybe some other purpose that they created us for and why they made us so small in comparison to themselves or the Nephilim.
All right, let's that's an excellent question. Now let's go back. Let me ask you the question: do you have those notes?
I don't, and I really want them to. So what I'm gonna do is, because this is the first time I heard Rhonda's email address, so I'm gonna email
me, sis.
Okay. In those notes, when I was going through the book, I had a question that came up when they were finishing or going into the last stages of their creation process and the experiments, and it was a part in the book where Enki, Ningashita, and Enlil went to Nenosar or Nema at that particular point in the book. Mm-hmm. And they went to her facility where she was taking care of the women. That's what it said in the book. She dropped that and went and did the final piece of the experiment that they were doing. And my question was, okay, why in the book did it say that she was taking care of the women and she wasn't doing nothing with the men? So I go and find Credo Mutual to see what he might have to say about that. It just so happens he talked about that and explained why and who did the mining, and in the process of that, there is a picture in those notes of a big giant piece of granite that's got a footprint of a female, which is what Credo Mutual said. A female footprint that's about 6 feet long. Mm-hmm. That's a giant. Mm-hmm. So when they first created us, we had to be giants also, because that's who was mining the gold.
Okay.
But you have to remember, back at that time in history, the atmosphere was different, where everything grew bigger. Everything was giant.
True that. True that. Okay. That's a very good point.
So we've gone through stages where the atmosphere changed and all that stuff, and that's how we got to this size.
Okay, well, I thank you, because that just didn't make no sense to me that they would make us so little and they expect us to do all that big work.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I'm basing my comments on just that knowledge right there. But I want to let you know that I could be wrong with 1,000 left shoes.
Well, that's like everything else. You know, we just going on the best information that's available that's being released to us. But you've done a wonderful job of explaining this thing to me, because I probably couldn't have unraveled it and wouldn't have took the time even. But this is wonderful, because there's been some revelations that have come to me as a result of, you breaking this book down, because that thing about old boy Marduk running around the earth and having different aliases, depending on what he was dealing with, I said, oh, my God.
Yeah, he got...
And he have really caused some mess in different parts. Okay, so I guess I would want to have another. It's just like them Nazis when they came over to the United States. They had to give them new identities, new family names, and everything, because of all the dirt that they had done under the previous name. You know, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but you have to. But see, you still have to understand Marduk and why he was cutting up the way he was cutting up, because he saw that if Daddy wasn't going to get the chance to be in power, he wouldn't get the chance to be in power, and he wasn't having it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but okay, so what's his excuse now? Because he ain't acting no better right now.
Well, see, now he got to straighten it up.
But he ain't straightening it up.
He don't have to. He gonna straighten it out. He gonna straighten it out, or he can't go home.
Well, it don't look like he made it go home, because I'm going to tell you, you know that he have required that all those world leaders come to that so-called Mandela funeral that wasn't really Mandela's funeral, to pay tribute to him, okay? And then they have been erecting these arches to Baal, okay, which you all said that's one of his sons, or maybe his only son, I don't know. But they're still into this wanting humans to worship them. And rather than helping us, and we desperately need help. So if he was trying to do right, he'd be helping us right about now, instead of us, whipping things up so that our leaders who are doing these, rituals and everything to them are making us be on the verge of world war, and they're chemtrailing us and forcing vaccinations on us and all kind of other things, and trying to annihilate us instead of helping us. So he ain't doing right. He ain't doing right yet.
Wait, hold on just a minute. Now, you still have to get his position. See, we're at the point now to where the trickery is so deep that the ones who are overrunning everything could be making it appear that he ain't trying to straighten things out.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, he needs some help too.
I don't know. Well, I'm glad you got his back because I just ain't feeling it.
You ain't trying to let old boy off the hook.
I'm looked at all this dysfunction. Okay, I can say in the past we can excuse that because we all learn from our mistakes. So after a few, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years, maybe but and then the other thing, they're speculating that he's holed up over at Jacob Zuma's compound in South Africa. Okay, so because he has laid that whole place out with gold, and they say he don't even really need that place, and so they're saying because a lot of people have been wondering, well, where is Marduk? Marduk seems to be back, so where is he at? Where would he? So they're thinking that maybe that's where he's at because it's a heavily fortified compound.
Hey,
so in South Africa.
I'm glad you said South Africa. Now, why would he be chilling in South Africa?
Well, that's his place. He liked it. They got lots of gold, and that's where they were historically.
Okay.
Mining that gold.
You do know there's a statue of his daddy down there, right?
Oh, you all did say that too.
Where his granddaddy? I knew.
His granddaddy. I knew. Yeah.
I knew. Oh.
Yeah. So he may have his arms to chill till his granddaddy get here.
Okay, so I knew it's expected to be coming back with Nibiru.
Well, look, at the end of the Lost Book of Enki, I knew he'd come down here for his supposedly last time, and that's only 2 showers ago. When we know they live hundreds of thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew it's the one that told them that they were supposed to be helping us.
Yeah,
and they didn't do it.
Teach them and leave. That's what he told them.
That's what he said. That was exactly.
They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I certainly hope that they will be required to do what they were supposed to do.
Well, they have no choice to because that's what the prophecy was written. So really, at this point, is are they gonna make it off this planet or quote, quote, the third density vibration, or are they going to stay down here trapped or in the third density vibration and then everybody else ascend and those that want to stay in the quote, quote, muck and mire, as Dr. York would say, then they stay in that particular low vibration density with them. So to me, that's really what the question is because it has to change. And
since we know this, then surely they know this.
Yeah,
and
they know.
It still seems to me that they would not wait until the last minute, the 11th hour, knowing what's going to happen, to do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, somebody certainly, and, like Brother Wendell said, he don't want to put it all the way on Marduk. But it could be his boys, the Agigi, because remember
them Nephilim down here in great numbers.
Exactly. So you got the his boys, the Agigi, what it was like 200 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was here, and so then they came down here, started having chitlins, which are the Nephilims, and we don't even know how many damn Nephilims there are. So
I don't see none.
Well, you have to remember, though, if you're looking for a Nephilim to be a giant, that's not going to happen. Not in our particular time.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Now, you could be looking right at somebody and be like, I can't stand, excuse my language, y'all, I can't stand that motherfucker. No, particularly Why? But you're getting such a bad vibration off this person, and they always into some crap and starting some mess. They very well could be of that Nephilim bloodline.
Well, the worst actors on this planet seem to be people who look pasty white, like the Kissinger and the Queen and the Pope. You know, they pasty white. I can't understand that either.
They knockoffs. You got to go back.
You got
to go. You got to go on back, way on back, and remember something. The Hotuppers ain't gonna tell you this because they ain't scared to go back this far.
That's right.
The ones that were running, the ones that were running Egypt were Nephilim.
That's right. So they were of the melanated. So when we speak of the ones that are really running it, we're speaking of the melanated.
Right. Well, see, now that's just the thing, though, in terms of what go back further and this, that, and the other. We've been lied to so badly.
Yes, we have.
I mean, because there is stuff that's sitting on the Giza Plateau now that the Egyptian government will not allow the archaeologists to excavate. And they said that it's stuff down there that's like millions of years old. So, and even the Sphinx. They've dated their stuff back so old until they don't trust the reliability of the equipment. So I don't even think that it's necessarily that Sumeria predates anything in Kemet. It's just that we don't know. And then they've got in Peru, they've got the same type of megalithic stones that they've discovered. That knowledge is being suppressed.
Yes, it is.
So we don't know, But what we do know, the common thread is that these same beings were in all these civilizations back then, and required people to worship them as gods. And now the truth has been revealed, and this is like, yes, because I knew something didn't sit right, all my life.
Yeah, it totally it lines up. And think about this, sis. We know today that we have folk that we think are man or mankind want people to fucking worship them. We are living in that age, whether you put it as a false prophet, whether you put it as these raggedy megachurch religions, whether you put it as these raggedy celebrities. Now they done got so doggone, it's so out of control. You even have, quote, quote, reality stars looking for energy from people to worship.
And the strange thing about us, we programmed to want to.
And see, basically what that is we've been sold out on a massive scale.
On a massive scale.
And so that means all of us need some help to get out of this.
We do, and we don't need them to be abusing us anymore. And if they know what time it is, they'll come correct.
Well, and if they don't come correct, they just stay trapped. At this point in time, those that knowingly, if you are knowingly having folks worship you or trying to use trickery into folks worshiping you, instead of operating in truth, putting truth out there and trying to manifest raising of the consciousness of vibration and love, you get what you get. It's not going to end well. I hope you enjoy your 10 minutes of fame, and I can't even calculate that in Nibiru years. Probably a millisecond of fame. God damn it, I hope you enjoy it, because it's not going to end well for you.
Oh, dear.
If they got to pay a price, if the Anunnaki got to pay a price, so the Nephilims and any of their derivatives or anybody that wants to take on that particular behavior, they don't get a pass either.
None of them. Well, I thank you very much for the clarification, and with that, I'm going to yield.
All right, sis. Thank you so much. It's excellent question. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We got 2 superstar callers. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I'm like, whoa. You saw what I did. I sat back. Oh, that's a good question. And I literally had my hand on my chin listening to the breakdown of that. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty doggone good. Very, very good. So, okay, we have a couple of more minutes, so I do want to squeeze this particular last thing in. It's going to be about 7 minutes, and this is the one I want to share with the family, and I don't know why it blended into the other video. But anyway, this one is with Dr. Phil Valentine and Professor Oyebo, and it's from the YouTube channel When Christ. We got I chopped it up into 6 minutes. And so this one, Oyebo talks about the Gagat theory, but he also fits it into metaphysics as well. So we're going to use this as the last clip for discussion. So I want to get this in so we won't have anything blend over. So bear with me, family, because I got to go to the 7-minute mark. Hold on a second.
Neutron 6 protons.
Well, carbon has...
but they use this as like a...
You see, therefore the cell has a building block called atom. Yes. So that makes biology a subset of chemistry.
Yes.
Okay? And then you go to psychology. Well, psychology is a study of the behavior of biological systems. Okay? Well, what drives that behavior but the cell, and which is driven by the atom. Again, that's chemistry. You go into sociology, the study of the interactions of the biological systems. Again, what drives that is ultimately the atom.
Let me ask you a question on taking you back to the forefront of chemistry.
Right.
When you're dealing with that one
building
chemical, but as far as carbon is concerned,
yes,
and I understand what's the significance of 666? You got 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons.
Well, carbon has.
But they use this as like a.
You see, now you get into. See, carbon has 6 hydrogen units. Right. It is quite stable. And you know about that stability by looking at its hydrogen units. That's why it's part of life, the organic chemistry. The principal elements that are visible in organic chemistry are stable elements.
So is carbon melanin?
Carbon, yes. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's charcoal and all that.
The building blocks.
Yes, certainly. So that, but it's a stable, very stable, and you can know that by just studying this building block called atom. You look at that atom and you look at the composition you have for carbon, and you understand even before you know about carbon that carbon was going to be a stable, unit. Okay, so it's oxygen. So is hydrogen itself. So those are the principles, CHO and nitrogen and all that, in terms of your organic chemistry, those are all stable, and that's why they can support life.
As far as we have metaphysics, Dr. Phil Valentine, and we have physics, how does those intertwine? I mean, to come up with these great theories, and then you prove them through mathematical equations. It's phenomenal.
Excellent question. Excellent question. But you see, that's why he and I, once we got started, we could. I mean, he took over, literally. No, but the reason is because now Gagat is God Almighty's grand unified truth or theorem. That's what a theorem is. A theorem is not just a truth, but a truth that can be proven mathematically.
So a theory is something that can't be proven.
No, theory is a second class, which is what makes this too bold. The title here is too bold for anything. But it's the truth. You know, you can't tell anything but the truth. You know, it's too bold. If I had said theory, I would have been forgiven more. But to call it a theorem means it to be proven mathematically. And if I couldn't do that, then I lost my credibility. So it's very serious, you know, to really go down route.
I see.
But this is why that truth says, therefore, it's a unified truth, and the truth is a language of the Almighty God. God is too big to lie. God is not afraid of me or you or anyone, so he looks at our face and tells the truth, you know. And so God talks in theorems. So therefore, we went over how the subjects came out of the black magic. Psychology, everything, history, you know, law, everything else came out of that black magic. Okay, which is why people like Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein later on, and Maxwell, you know, really stop with geometry, which is the basis. Everything in the universe is about geometry. So, but the truth is it. Now, so God is a unified truth. God Almighty's grand unified truth that is provable mathematically. That means that if anybody is presenting a knowledge base that's about truth, in fact, knowledge by definition is truth. When you study psychology, you're looking for facts about the behavior of biological systems. The fact is truth. It's a theorem. So therefore, metaphysics is also truth, except that it's like the dark matter. Metaphysics dabble into the parts where it challenges human perception. You understand? But God presents that very clearly because it's about trajectories, motion. Motion follows a path. For example, you can follow the path of the planet. Okay, Earth. Okay, the Earth is rotating around the sun. You can follow the path. Okay, so at any given point in time, you can locate where it is. That is also truth. Okay, yeah. So metaphysics deals in that realm. So metaphysics, the true metaphysics, is part of Dagon. It's part of mathematics. It's part of science. Unfortunately, there are people who, you know, do a little, or they don't have enough information. They'll present this in the name of metaphysics, and it comes out, you know, giving metaphysics a bad name. But primarily, it's about the truth.
So most likely, people that want to debunk metaphysics are people that pretty much don't believe in things that's not seen.
Exactly. But again, metaphysics, and he said it so eloquently, metaphysics is the study of the causal realm. It is the study of the dynamics of how, you know how you change your mind constantly, but you stay constant as the being that's changing the mind? But in metaphysics, we study the variable ways that the mind of God works and how the causative principles of the intent manifest themselves in the visible realm. We work from the dark to the light, the way all things were said to have come about. So instead of studying the light, which could take on a whole bunch of surface different visages, we go back to the primary unitary, as he said, the atum source, to be able to make conjecture or to study how a particular law, what they end up calling laws, how particular natural laws fix themselves into the visible reality we call the universe or our earth. How are they fixed, and what are the operative dynamics behind that fixed principle? So in metaphysics, what you're studying, what he studies is the physical. He explains how the metaphysics tangibilizes into the physics. He has now put an articulable theorem for how that which is cause manifests as an effect.
That's right. And the cause, of course, is the force field.
Is that force field.
And ultimately is the Almighty God we're talking about. That's why the equation Gij, comma J equals 0. See, and the one thing about the equation is that it's so simple. It's a one-term equation, but that's the theory of everything. And when you look at it, see, it's all geometry. Everything derives from geometry. So the universe, as you see it, is a primarily geometric space. Terms like mass, you know, and of course where the dark matter comes in and so on and so forth, All those are convenient expression of what they call the concentration of the wave, which is what the spirit is. Okay? Yeah, the spirit has a concentration, and you call that matter. It's simply concentrated. Physics goes on to say, well, is matter really wave or particle?
It's both. It has to be both.
It's both because it's wave, but concentrated wave is what you call particle.
Yes.
so it's never stopped being wave. So that's why they can't, so you say light waves or photons as a particle representation, you're talking the same thing.
And you see, the beauty of it is the principle of the wave and the particle is now being understood. Yeah. Because what's happening is they are now connecting the dots to what we were speaking about, the fact that they don't have the advanced technologies to actually study the particle, and that the little micromagnetic fields that it rests in. The very idea behind the particle wave reality is that the intercessor of the wave to the particle, in other words, for it to become a particle, the mind of man must intercede within the wave. So when the mind of man is not active and is not participating in the wave experience, the phenomenon remains a wave. But as soon as mind conditions the wave by projecting its perception upon that wave, it changes to a particle.
That's right. That's right.
You see. So the mind of man, thought, is directly connected to the phenomenon of the wave-particle theory. Theorem.
Yes, and actually the dynamics is such that, for example, Gaga presents the essence of God being everything as another confirmation of the fact that the spirit is waves. Because the sun sends light waves or light photons or whatever from its location, which is 93 million miles away. Okay? And as soon as it's sent, almost like this, it is here. So if you can picture God, the essence of God, in terms of waves, so that those waves are far faster than the waves from the light of the sun, then you can imagine how God can permeate the entire universe like that.
Now.
So it's a presence that manifests tangibly as waves.
That's right. Our people.
All right, family. So again, that particular video, and Brother Wendell, I'm going to bring you back in. I had a lot of feedback, but that last video is with Dr. Phil Valentine and Professor Oyebo, and that's coming off the YouTube channel When Christ Won. So let me bring Brother Wendell back in. Oh, I hope I can find you, Brother Wendell. If not, there you are. Okay. All right, brother. Sorry about that. I was getting a lot of feedback from you.
Yeah, I got a little research project going on while I'm listening.
Okay, no worries. So did you have anything you wanted to put on that? Okay, so I just want to because we're going to wrap up, but I did want to summarize the main points on that particular video. And that video is only 28 minutes long in total. If you want to listen to the whole thing, it's very, very fascinating. But the main points in the video that we heard so far is that, notice he said once again that carbon fits into everything. So carbon is again equal to melanin. And remember in the other video, he broke down the word chemistry itself, meaning chem, from chemetic, meaning black, which meant melanin. Okay, so I did want to point that out. Now, what I found just absolutely profound in this particular video is how they tie metaphysics itself into the picture, and they equated metaphysics is equal to truth itself. And metaphysics studies the variable ways of how the creator of all mind works. I found that fascinating for them to say that. And they were also saying that when folk are calling themselves studying science, that they should always go back to the source of that atom or that particle. And the study of natural law, and we just talked about natural law earlier tonight, and how it could never be changed, as Brother Wendell pointed out, which was a very good drop. And he also reiterated how everything derives also from geometry, and that matter itself is the wave, the particle wave. And so what I love about that Dr. Phil Valentine said on this, that pretty much that your thought, and it could have been both of them, Dr. Valentine and Dr. Oyebo, that the thought itself is what travels faster than anything. And that thought creates that particle wave, which create matter. So I want to kind of conclude, as we were talking about manifestation, hopefully you see that there is a science behind what you create for yourself, as well as what you create in the realm that you're in. And some of the powerful tools that you have right at your disposal, because you are also a God, as your thought, your words, spoken word, and written word. I think we take that lightly and we take it for granted. So know that whatever you need to do for you, you don't need a middleman to go through to make something happen for you. You were given all that you need to also be your own creator. And that's what we should be doing through thought, through speaking it into existence, to writing it in existence. And then you call on those other natural law or Gagat or the Most High Highest or the Creator for assistance to keep you balanced and also to help bring into fruition what you have already put out into the universe to create that wave to turn it into matter. So with that said, we're going to wind down. Brother Wendell, did you have any last words for the family?
Oh, just get gooder and gooder. Let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sis. Go ahead.
You know, because of the power that thought has, word has, the Bible and all ancient texts are really written around Israel. I'm not talking about the fake ones. I'm talking about the real ones.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we have the power, according to that scripture, to bring peace to this world. But we must wake up, know that we are Israel, acknowledge that, and that we have to be uniform in our thought to bring peace, love, justice, and freedom. We have to work on those principles to make the frequency at the right hertz it's supposed to be at. Yeah. And if we just sit here and just let somebody else dictate what the world is going to be like, we're all going to be lost. But we have to wake up as a people. And
beautifully said.
And as that, I'll heal.
Thank you, sis. Beautifully, beautifully, beautifully said. And thank you again, sis, for joining us and putting something on it. I also want to thank the callers. Boy, you all really brought some questions tonight that I had to sit back with my hand under my chin and listen. So I definitely want to thank you as well. I do have 2 announcements to make. Now, the first one, Brother Wendell, I don't want no crap out of you. I am going on vacation next week. I will literally be out of the country. So we will not have a show next Thursday, but I will be back the following week. And so I'm not sure what the topic is going to be yet. So definitely check the Truth Uncompromised Facebook page, and I will put the topic out there. So again, next week I will be on vacation. I'll literally be out of the country. So if you dial in at 7 o'clock, if you forgot or whatever, I'm not going to be able to have no message, none of that, because I will be out of the country. But we'll definitely be back the following week to pick up where we left off with another profound topic. And so the other announcement, I made it last week that we are going to move from freeconference.com to Blog Talk Radio. They're getting worse and worse with the service. They sucking, they trying to charge folk and all of that. So in November, it'll probably be the 3rd week of November that we are going to switch over to Blog Talk Radio. So by next week, I'll start giving you that information and giving you the countdown of when we move over. So with that said, family, I want to thank you so much again for joining us. I really, really enjoyed this topic tonight. I truly learned a lot on this topic, the universe master code, how sound, shape, and numbers create our reality. And Brother Wendell, I want to thank you and welcome back. And that was right on time, because, boy, that book of Inky, we can't, it always seemed to creep into everything we do.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, well, all right then, family. So with that said, we're going to sign off with peace, love, truth, freedom, and justice, one heart, one mind, and one spirit. And we're going to rock out with some music. And with that, I say nightfall. So I'm rocking out with something from the 70s. That's when we had nice little vibration of music going on. I'm going to try to find my little Commodore's cut. I'm going to take y'all back with Zoom. So, okay. Love you very much, family. I know. You know that's the cut now. I'm going to take them back. So here we go. Nightfall, family.